What I'll do is we can start, and we'll start on the agenda. And if someone's on the agenda that's not here, we'll just we'll plug them in at the end, so we don't go over on the end. Just want to welcome everybody here today to our North Shore Community College here in Lynn. Thank you to everybody across the board for helping me organize this today. What a great turnout. I look out in the crowd and I see so many friends and colleagues and just people that are affected by this disease that we're dealing with. But I do want to start today by thanking North Shore Community College and have the president of the college. I am a graduate of this school, this campus, the Thomas McGee building. I was telling the president earlier when I graduated high school, I really didn't know what I wanted to do, and a lot of my friends went off to college, so I came down here and had a great experience, where I must say I was elected president of the student government, the only job I ran for that I won. With no further ado, President Pat Gentile, Dr. Gentile from North Shore Community College, want to welcome us today.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, come on. Good morning, everyone. That's it. I know you've had some coffee. So I want to welcome you to North Shore Community College's Lynn campus. We're very pleased to host today's important summit. North Shore Community College is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. Yes. Over this past half century, we've enrolled nearly 250,000 area residents in courses and programs at this campus and our other 3 campuses in Danvers, Beverly, and Middleton. Annually, North Shore serves over 11,000 credit students and another 4,000 to 5,000 non-credit students. The college is truly pleased to be a committed and engaged partner to the communities we serve. We care deeply, for example, about the city of Lynn, its challenges and its potentials. To that end, we're adding a much-needed wing onto this building to hold another 10 classrooms, as well as a single-stop Student Success Center on our first floor. We've partnered with the City of Lynn, School District of Lynn, Salem State University, and other potential university partners, the North Shore Workforce Investment Board, and the Lynn Community Health Center, all under the leadership of Senator Tom McGee, to create a communiversity at Lynn on this campus. An urban education workforce development collaboration that will provide effective and affordable educational pathways, we believe, from birth to career. The Communiversity at Lynn is spelt a special way, C-O-M-M, for including the Lynn community, as well as, of course, us, the community college. University, for bringing 3rd and 4th year degree completion programs to this campus and to the city. We are the only institution of higher education here in Lynn at this time. And it ends with C-I-T-Y instead of S-I-T-Y because we're partnering with not only the City of Lynn, but the School District of Lynn as we basically vertically integrate into the high schools and into the middle schools to help make sure that Lynn students are fully prepared to be successful. Through our early college and dual enrollment programs, we believe we will really impact the readiness and affordability. Our hope is that by the time we get the Communiversity up and going, a Lynn student will be able to not only get their high school degree, but perhaps up to a year of college under their belt. So high school degree plus 3, we think will give a huge impact and advancement to the idea of more of our students from Lynn and the surrounding area being able to get the credentials and degrees they need. But you know, ensuring student success goes well beyond simply addressing the academic needs of those we enroll. We see many life issues negatively impacting the ability of our students to stay in college and complete. One of those life issues certainly involves substance abuse. Drugs are everywhere, in our medicine cabinets, on the retail shelves, and in the dark corners of our society. But I don't have to tell you that. I know you know that, and that's why you're here today. Substance abuse also has a major impact on our children, our students, our community, on the legal and criminal system, on our economy, and is very detrimental to the quality of life in our communities. Substance abuse takes a very high personal toll on our families. Now, I know this because years ago I adopted two brothers when they were 9 and 12 from the state system. They came from a drug-addicted mother and father and a pretty dysfunctional family, and had been in 9 different foster care homes before being adopted by me and my family. And I've spent the last 20 years dealing with the personal consequences of having these two children, dealing with all the negative impacts in their early life, as both became addicted to illegal substances as teenagers: alcohol, pot, pills, heroin, and probably other drugs I don't know about. I've experienced the emotional, financial, and legal implications of having a family member in the grips of drug addiction. We've had them admitted to psychiatric centers, in rehab, in faith-based institutions, and in weekly support groups like NA. And I just want to give a shout out to NAMI. What a wonderful resource for families. We've had them, having a loved one on drugs makes daily living a devastating roller coaster ride for a family. So I welcome you here today because your work is extremely important. You face a very tough challenge in determining how, with very scarce resources, you're going to address the increased abuse of opiates. I applaud your determination to make things better for the individual drug abusers, to build better prevention programs for the community, and to provide help to families like mine. I appreciate your efforts and wish you the very best and Godspeed on your journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gentile. I appreciate the comments. I just had a couple of housekeeping comments or announcements for everyone. The bathrooms are out the door to the right around the stairs. There's a men's room and a ladies' room, and up the stairs there's also another set of bathrooms. The campus is smoke-free, so anyone that needs to smoke, you cannot do it on the grounds, outside, or anywhere. I appreciate you respecting that rule. Up back, there's booths, different vendors, different programs, there's information, packets available from all different groups that set up their tables. They asked me today if that would be appropriate. I said that was a great idea, not only for probation officers, but everyone here in the room to grab a packet and get that information from those people. I want to thank P.O. Montgomery and Jenkins for working the table today from my office. I also want to acknowledge my assistant, Chief Brian Orlandella, who's basically been doing my job for the last 2 or 3 weeks while I organize this event. Doing the job and organizing the event is a full-time commitment, and I appreciate his help. If you open your packet guide and to save time in the process of today's event, I'm not going to read everybody's bio. I'm not going to have a long introduction. Everybody here is well-known, respected, and ahead of the curve in their field, the presenters today on what we're dealing here with the opiate addiction. So in a matter of time, just read their bios. Very impressive panel we have today. I did receive a call from the commissioner. He is not going to be able to make it today. The commissioner of probation is held up in Boston. The sheriff's on the way. Senator McGee's on the way. I want to acknowledge my new state representative, Brendan Crichton, is here today, off to the side, very supportive of this today. Senator McGee's very supportive. I want to acknowledge Judge Conlon, our presiding judge, is here today. Judge Lamoth is here today, and our drug court judge, the chief of police from Lynn, Marblehead, Nahant, the major from the state police is here, the A Troop out of the Danvers Barracks, police officers from all around Swampscott and Marblehead and Saugus are all here today. And I believe Judge Lou from Essex Superior Court has registered. He's on the way as well. I want to acknowledge him attending as well. And there's one more person that has been a big impact on me. We're all here today. Everyone in this room is here today due to the fact of the heroin problem that we're dealing with. We've been slapped across the face the last several years with this heroin addiction and this disease. In all honesty, I don't know what to do. Many of us don't know what to do. That's why we're here today. I was trying to put up a slide. What do we do as probation officers? Someone walks into the courthouse or walks into a police station and say, or you come across when you're on a call as a police officer or a probation officer or a firefighter or even a teacher or anywhere here on the campus, and someone overdosed. What do? What is the answer? We don't have the answer. And I was telling people earlier, every time I put a slide together from a probation standpoint of what to do, I always erased it and deleted it because there is no answer. I was going to put an empty slide up today and say that's the answer. We don't know what the answer is. Everybody's different. We don't have an answer. And whether you're a police officer, or a corrections officer, or a state trooper, or a treatment provider, a doctor, a nurse, a mother, father, aunt, or uncle, we're all in this together. We don't know what to do anymore with the heroin problem we're dealing with in the community. And I know the chief of police in Lynn and the DEA is going to be here today, and they're all the professionals. They have all the stats and numbers. I'm not going to get into too many numbers or stats, but I do want to mention all my event sponsors before we move on to the speakers. And these people here have been phenomenal for me. Obviously, the Massachusetts Trial Court Judicial Institute has been very, very, very helpful and supportive, not only funding, but in advice and everything else. Massachusetts Probation Service with the Commissioner's Office. My regional supervisor, Jeff Akers, is here. My chief of probation, Ron Lennon. Right down the list. Essex County Sheriff Frank Cousins has been invaluable. His staff, his outreach workers, reintegration, the print shop at the jail, the Sheriff's Department, and Sheriff Cousins has been very, very, very helpful and supportive. Probation officers, my union, Margaret Thompson here, the president of my union today. She was supportive, and they funded some of this program today. Lynn Firefighters, Matt Reddy, the president of Lynn Firefighters Union. I think he might be working. But I drove from the Fayette Street Firehouse in Lynn, people that are from Lynn, where the president of the union works, over to the chief of fire at the big house on Western Ave. From the president of the union to the chief of the department, both supported, both helping me. The Women District Court Heat Program with Chief Vin Piero. You here? Where are you, Chief? You're in second row over here. And Mike Higgins from the Women District Court, the Heat Program. I went to that program, and this is why we're here today, because of their not only their support, but the Ad Care group registering it today, Marion Clark in the back of the room, and all those people over there with the HEAT program supporting us, helping us fund this today. And from the deepest part of my heart, I appreciate that. It's difficult to run a program without funding. BSAS, the Bureau of Substance Abuse, I never heard of that word till about a year ago. Go on that website. It is a valuable resource for all of us in the room. Very supportive and helpful today. Lynn Housing Authority, Charlie Gay, the Executive Director, gave us a grant to fund this today. Much appreciated. In North Shore Community College, there's this venue started at the police station. They have a nice new station, and they have a nice training room, and I think it holds 60 people. And we had 60 people registered like the first day. So here we are at almost 300 people. So I want to acknowledge the college. There was no fee for us being here today. So it was a huge help and a huge resource to the community. I just want to, before we go on to the next speaker, is the Wednesday before Christmas, I tell this story to a lot of people. I had three males walk in my office in the courthouse in Lynn the Wednesday before Christmas. All three of them were active users. And this is why, we're here today. One of them, I asked him to go down in the basement to do a drug screen, and he took off. He left the building, and I asked the judge for a warrant. We put a warrant out for his arrest. The second person tested positive. I put him on the phone. We got him in the Demic detox in Boston. And the third person was detained up at the Sheriff's Department. He's been to court many, many times on these violations, so he was held. And I think he ultimately ended up in drug court. But this is what we're dealing with every day. I'm going through it with a family member of mine at this point. With the addiction, using heroin, and it's just, it's out of control. We don't know what to do at this point anymore. So I ask you to pay attention today. At the end of the whole thing, there's going to be some questions. We're going to try to get through it till the end to get questions so everyone can speak. And just before Judge Conlon comes up, last night I was up late, and I read an odd statistic that overdosing is now the leading cause of accidental death in the United States. In the age population of 25 to 64, more people die of a drug overdose than they do in automobile accidents in this country. Kind of a startling statistic. The overdose rate has tripled, I believe, in the last 10 years. And, that's why we're here today. We have a fast-paced forum today. We'll make up the difference. We're going to have Judge Conlon come up, our presiding judge. someone who has an open door policy here in the Lynn District Court, someone who's from Lynn, someone who knows all about this and knows all the people and all the suffering we're going through these days. So with no further ado, Judge Conlon, our presiding judge.
Thank you, and thank you, Donnie. I'm told that the speakers are ineligible for the prizes, which is all just as well because I checked the sizes of the T-shirts. I want to thank you really to Donnie and the committee for what they've put together. It really is an enormous undertaking, and it's been done enormously well. And I want to thank you all for being here and hopefully becoming part of the solution instead and recognizing the problem. I stand here really to welcome you, and I want to do so on behalf of the Lynn District Court. Our clerk, Jane Brady Sturgwell, Donnie mentioned Ronnie Lennon, John Nerrick, our head of security, and Tony Imperial. We're a team, and we really have to work together, and this has been and is a significant problem. Donnie mentioned that I'm from Lynn. I'm a product of the Lynn Public Schools. I won't be divisive and mention which one. I will tell you that Superintendent Latham and Principal Strange agree that it's traditionally been the strongest. My father, mother, and cousins disagree. I have been raised in Lynn. I practice law in Lynn. I've been the presiding judge in Lynn now for some 5 years. I've been sitting in Lynn for over 12 years, and I can attest personally as to the magnitude of the problem we're now facing. Today is a little bit unusual in really two circumstances. First, on a personal level, for 364 days a year, I get to tell Donnie Castle what to do. Today, he tells me what to do, and he told me to keep it short. He said, we have a lot of presenters, a lot of information, and you're really not the source of it. The second really change or a difference with today's program is we're being proactive today. The court and the probation department are being proactive in bringing the problem to the community. By design, institutionally, we're a reactive institution. We don't go searching problems. We don't reach out to solve problems. We deal with problems once they're presented to us. In terms of addiction, we generally encounter them in two different fashions. First, if family members recognize that a family member or loved one or certain relations are having a problem with addiction and are really beyond control and can't protect themselves or others, they have the ability to petition us civilly to commit somebody against their will for up to 90 days for treatment. The second way this problem comes to us is most obvious on criminal prosecutions. And once a criminal prosecution has ended, we do have certain tools to deal with addiction. It ranges from treatment, testing, drug court led by Judge Lamothe, which in my mind is second to none in the state, and ultimately incarceration. But it is a problem we're dealing with all the time. You've been in courts throughout the Commonwealth, as I look around, most of you have, and you've seen the symbol of justice. She's blind, has a blindfold on, and is weighing scales. And the idea is that justice is blind and even. Addiction is not. Addiction doesn't recognize height, weight, age, gender, sex, race, ethnicity, social standing. Addiction touches us all. And right now we're losing that battle. Our hope today is that you recognize and learn about the enormity of the problem, but also commit to being part of the solution. After a significant battle in World War II, Prime Minister Churchill was asked if that was the beginning of the end of the war. He was not so optimistic. He said, I'd be happy if this was the end of the beginning. And that's our hope today. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. I just want to recognize Representative Bob Fennell is here, and Sheriff Cousins just arrived. I neglected to mention two other people, Diane Richard. It's Diane. I just want to say Diane's our training coordinator at our Clinton Academy. She's been instrumental in organizing this event, and I apologize. Jane Brady Sturgwell as well, our clerk magistrate, and I believe some of our assistant clerk magistrates, Andy Pedalato is here as well. I just wanted to go back real quick and this is who's here today. I don't know why I thought this was important, but I just, who showed up today, who registered for this event. You know, trial court employees, treatment specialists, law enforcement, medical, other government agencies, DCF. They've been very helpful and instrumental here today. Attorneys, educators, and other people. I just brought down the numbers of the registrants just for a little bit of information. It's across the board of people that are interested. Next up, I'm going to ask that Sheriff Cousins come up and say a few words. As I indicated earlier in my bio, I worked up in the Sheriff's Department for 13 years. I started there, and I never thought I'd be there that long. And as I indicated, Sheriff Cousins has been instrumental in helping us organize this event, supporting this event, funding this event, giving us prizes, and printing everything. And all the people at the jail have been just so super to us. And I know with our commissioner and our regional supervisor, there's an reintegration program in place, probably one of the best in the state of keeping tabs on everybody once they're released from custody, getting them right into the probation department. And with no further ado, Sheriff Cousins.
Good morning. I'm just going to say a few words, and it's great to be here. I think anytime we have an opportunity like this to bring awareness to this big issue, I think it's very informative for everybody. A couple of points that I think I just want to touch on. Yesterday we had our monthly sheriff's meeting. We met out in Worcester, which we do. We were very fortunate to have the governor call in to our meeting, and all of the sheriffs, 14 sheriffs, had an opportunity to talk about this particular issue and the importance of this particular issue. And one of the things that I think we identified with the help of our legislators, Representative Bob Fennell and Senator Joan Lovely, was the issue around 211F, which we've had a lot of discussion about with pretrial people that come into the court system that have been picked up by the police for doing the nuisance crimes and using drugs and all of the disruptive things that happen in everybody's neighborhood, was to be able to seek relief for those individuals so they could participate at community correction centers, which we think is very, very important because it'll be able to provide treatment services, monitoring, drug testing for those individuals. And I think that's something that I want to thank Bob Fennell for signing that bill, filing that bill this year, Senator Lovely and other legislators in Essex County to understand the importance of that so we can really look at some of these pretrial people that we have incarcerated. Our numbers across the state, there are more pretrial people being housed in houses of corrections than sentenced people. So as you can see, it's being what is being fueled with the drug issue. The other thing which I think is important, which we talked about yesterday, which I think clearly is the availability of treatment beds and options for people. We all get calls every day. It doesn't matter, all of us in whatever position we're in, and where to send people, where to put people. And we were very fortunate to have yesterday the new Secretary of Health and Human Services, and we talked about that issue and to be able to put resources to that, because I think when you look at those two combinations of where you're going to be able to put people, how you're going to be able to get people off the street before they commit a crime or before they're disruptive in our communities is very, very important. I know in my city, in the city of Newburyport, our city marshal has been out front on that and working with the courts and working with health providers in Newburyport to be able to provide those services. And the final thing I want to touch on, which I think is important, and I see Dolores and Moa here and Jeff Akers, we have a great group of leadership team to work with all of the staff here in Essex County. And I say that collectively for everybody here in the room, because the communication that they do on their bi-monthly meetings to address issues in the court systems, with police departments, with the sheriff's departments, in terms of where people are going, when they leave jail, and to properly manage those individuals and provide the services that are important to all of you, I think is very, very important. Those things do not happen all across this Commonwealth. There's a lot of leadership in this particular room to make those things happen, to coordinate those things. And Those type of things, I think, are key to addressing this particular issue, to be able to combat a lot of the drug and alcohol problems that we have in this county. And the final thing I want to say is, I think we all understand, and I say this a lot to people, and I say it to a lot of mothers and fathers that call me about, you know, children and when they're addicted to opiates and heroin, is, you know, it's clearly a family disease. It requires a lot of patience on our part, and understanding that people will fail, unfortunately, and will relapse, and we have to get them back into treatment, or if they've recommitted another crime, or dealing with them through the court systems or with us. And I think that's very, very important, because there are no quick fixes to this. It is really a time effort by all of us, which everybody I know in this room consistently does. So with that said, I appreciate the work of Dawn and the group that put this together today. I think it's very important, and I want to thank you for allowing me to say a few words today. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. I'm going to ask that Major Chagru come up and say a few words. The Major is the commander of A Troop, the Massachusetts State Police, which if I name all the barracks, Major, I'll probably forget a few. I know it's Concord, Revere, Danvers, Medford, Newbury, Andover. I know I'd forget them all. So he's the Major of the troop. He's been very helpful with me, taking all my calls, taking all my emails. I've been up to barracks many a times. A lot of the troopers are here today. And he has some numbers, too, of opiate responses for the troopers on the street in Essex County. So, Major, thank you.
I have a couple things I wanted to read, but beforehand, I too want to thank Don and his staff and all the participating organizations that put this summit together, and for their continued commitment to finding ways to solve the problem of addiction, and specifically this recent explosion of opiate-based deaths. And I think we've already heard there probably isn't anybody in this room who hasn't been touched by addiction in some way, whether it's a family member, a friend, a neighbor, a coworker, or some situation at work, some tragic situation we've all seen. We've all been affected by this in some way. I have seen over the last few years that the attitude of even the hardest police officers have changed. Who would have thought that our officers would be asking to carry Narcan? Most of us wouldn't want to get too close to anybody involved in needles, specifically heroin, but I think the attitudes have changed. Our officers are asking for Narcan. They want to save a life. They want to help get people into treatment. Overdose deaths are no longer restricted to the alleys of our cities. They've reached out and grabbed hold of every suburb, even our wealthiest of communities. I want to read I work up at the headquarters here in Danvers, and this is a log from one day at our office. I just want to read a small segment of it. 5:30 in the morning, overdose death of a 34-year-old female. 2:30 in the afternoon, overdose death of a 29-year-old female. Just before 4 o'clock in the afternoon, overdose death of a 57-year-old male. And then 9 minutes later, 4:02, overdose death of a 27-year-old male. 4 deaths, less than 12 hours, 2 male, 2 female. And that was Christmas. 4 families on Christmas Day lost somebody. This summit, I think, is a great way to bring us all together to better understand the problem and to discover maybe some new solutions. I want to thank everybody for being here today. Your presence is very encouraging, and I hope that we can reverse this epidemic through your hard work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Major. Next up is we're going to have our regional supervisor here for Region 3 of the Massachusetts Probation Service, which is basically Essex County, all the courts in our county, as well as Cambridge, Malden, and Chelsea, if I'm correct. Jeff Akers, another person from the city of Lynn, deep Lynn roots and a deep understanding of the problem that we're facing. Jeff?
Thank you, Don. And I want to welcome everybody to the Greater Lynn Opiate Summit. As Don said, my name is Jeff Akers. I'm the regional supervisor from the Office of the Commissioner of Probation for Region 3. I have a vast area that I cover, from suburbia to inner city to not so inner city courts. But the also thing I also cover is some of the Salisbury and the Lynn Community Correction Centers, which are vital instruments to help us with this opiate addiction. But if you could indulge me for 1 second, I would ask that all the members of the Mass Probation Service to please stand for 1 second. Now, this is important to me because I want to publicly thank you for what you do, because you're on the front lines of this epidemic and trying to make a difference in people's lives and serving your community. So I want to thank you personally for what you do. I think each of you have exhibited hard work and dedication in trying to help stem this epidemic. We have 2 drug courts in Region 3. We have one in Malden and one in Lynn, which are vital to helping with this epidemic. It's a collaborative between the court, the DA's office, the public defender's office, and other public social agencies to try to help with the heroin epidemic. Also, we have the Hope More program that involves Salem District Court and Essex Superior Court. It also is a collaboration between law enforcement, the public defender's office, probation, the sheriff's department, and different law enforcement, as well as social service agency. I think that's a great program that we have. We also, it was mentioned earlier, we talk about the Essex County Reentry Program that we have in Region 3, that involves the sheriff's department and many other stakeholders that realize how important the transition from incarceration to community supervision is. Because we've had a lot of people that have left the sheriff's department, come home and picked up and died instantly after being out of jail for 48 hours. Again, people don't realize that your tolerance is lower, and then you pick up drugs and think you can use at the same level you did before, and we lost quite a few people from that. So this is a great program where we transition people from the House of Corrections into the community. I'd also like to talk a little bit about our community correction centers, which are the most utilized centers throughout the state of Massachusetts. I think Jim Toomey, Jeff Ryan, and Karen Costello do an outstanding job there in facilitating services for people through the Sheriff's Department, AdCare, and other social agencies that provide those services. I think the last thing I want to talk about is, many of you know, the opiate addiction has no social, economic, or demographic boundaries. Long gone are the days of just being an urban inner city plague, of addicts shooting up in back alleys and abandoned buildings. It has come out of the shadows and found its way into suburbia and rural America and become a public health crisis. I was talking to one of my colleagues earlier about Palmer, Massachusetts. How many people know where Palmer is? Okay? That's out in the middle of nowhere. There's probably more cows than people in Palmer. But the police there report that they have a heroin death. They average a heroin death, 1 death a month in a place like Palmer. So this really tells you how difficult this situation is. What I'd also like to do is thank Mark O'Toole, Captain Mark O'Toole from Lynn Police, Vinnie Perro, the chief from Woburn District Court, Diane Richards from our training academy, and Ron Lennon and Donnie Castle for being a part of this committee to put this together. And our hope is that you'll leave here with a little more information that you had before you came, and be able to go out and make a difference and change somebody's life. And then we can maybe make a dent in this epidemic that's killing our country and almost killing a whole generation of people. So hopefully we can make a difference and do something with that. Again, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jeff. Senator Tom McGee's going to come up. He just he called me last night. He had a prior commitment, but he found it found it was really important to be here today. So he is here today. I'm going to ask the senator to come up and say a few words. Many of us not only know Tom as our senator, but our friend, our neighbor. Many of us went to high school with him here in this room, so I appreciate him being here with the other Lynn delegation, Representative Crichton and Representative Fennell in the back of the room. Tom, thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, Don, and glad to be here with my colleagues, Bob Fennell and Brendan Crichton, and with all of you this morning. And I'm sure you're going to hear it over and over again, but this is a crisis we as legislators hear about every day. It's impacting our neighbors, our friends, our families. It really is impacting all of us in every community we live in, all through Essex County, all through the Commonwealth. And we understand clearly we need to come together and address this as a community and as a state. And so it's great to have such a turnout here this morning, I think, to talk about it, hear about it, but more importantly, to come together and recognize we need to find a way to make sure that people that need treatment have the access to that treatment. We get calls all the time, and when someone's ready to go into treatment, they're ready that day. They may not be ready tomorrow, and it's a real challenge sometimes as legislators to know what we can do that day to make sure they get in a program that's going to send them in the right direction and hopefully send them on a road that's going to change their life. That is something that we all need to work on together, and to make sure we find the resources that when those people that need the help in our families, in our neighborhoods, can get that help as soon as they need it. So I want to thank Donnie and everyone that put this together, and this is something we need to continue to work on together. I know my good friend Steve Tolman, who's the head of the AFL-CIO now and worked in the Senate, is a strong supporter of working on this. The governor has talked about this as being a major priority in his administration. We need to do it at the community level as well. So thank you all for participating, and thank you all for being a part of working together to solve this problem, make sure that we can move forward in a way that makes sense for people that are struggling with this addiction every single day. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Senator McGee. I told Senator McGee and Representative Fennell and Representative Crichton was down in the courthouse a few weeks ago and sat down with me and a few of my colleagues in regards to the crisis, and I said we will be up there in the near future looking for something. We don't know what we need right yet, Representative, but we need beds. We need beds to be reserved. Someone walks into our office and we need to get them a bed. So we will talk about that in the future. Thank you. Next up is going to be Chief Coppinger from the Lynn Police Department, another strong supporter and friend of the probation service and the probation department and Lynn District Court.
Thank you, everyone, and all the previous speakers gave all the thank yous to everybody. I'm just going to very briefly say ditto. Thank you to everyone. This is huge. Your presence here is going to help us all. Our friends at the DEA, that was a tremendous presentation. I wish I had the resources they had. We could do a lot. But I do have current statistics, so I have one thing the feds don't have, so I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's what we're going to share with you this morning. And just starting out on that, and you'll see our numbers here in a minute, but it's 2015 has not started any better than the last several years. It's January 16th. We've already had 14 overdoses in the city of Lynn alone and one fatal. Last night, a 13-year-old boy found his 33-year-old dad in the bathroom dead. It's not a good start, and I know a lot of you in this room have heard similar stories, have seen families that have gone through this type of tragedy, and it's sad. So hopefully we can put our heads together here and come up with some solutions. But we're going to, as I said, we're going to give you some statistics, a little bit of perspective, opinion, and hopefully you'll agree with me. And if you don't, we're here for discussion because we're a team effort. At least in our opinion, it's a team effort. We have to combat this problem from a number of different directions, and that's why we're here. So 2014, not one of our better years. Actually, it was our worst year on record. I have to give my predecessor, Chief John Suslak, a lot of credit. John and I worked together for many, many years as deputy chiefs, and he was chief before me. But back in the early 1990s, we started to track the heroin overdose problem in the city of Lynn. We go out, we investigate every overdose that we're aware of. And I stress that we're aware of. If we get called to a scene or aware of a scene, we will go, we will have a detective follow up. Problem is, a lot of them we don't know about. You know, they may overdose, they go to the hospital, HIPAA laws prevail, they can't let us know about it. So the statistics you're gonna see are what we know about, but I think it will give you a pretty good representation of the pattern that's out there now. 2014, 35 people died in the city of Lynn. We had 3 homicides in 2014. When I was a patrolman and a sergeant, homicides were the big thing we worried about. 3 homicides, 35 fatals, heroin. Big difference, really has shifted the perspective. 245 non-fatals, 280 total in Lynn. Here's our numbers. As I said, we've tracked them for many, many years. This goes back 11 years. Don't ask me why I picked 11 years. That's just kind of what fit on the screen. But look at the last 3 years. 2012, total overdoses, 118. 2013, that jumped to 189. And last year, 280. The fatals, 24 in 2012, 19 in 2013, 35, as I mentioned, last year. Again, these are the ones we know about. This is not good. Go back 2004, we had 4 deaths. You can see the pattern is not encouraging. And, you know, I'm born and brought up in Lynn. I've been a Lynn cop 32 years. I started my career in Lynnfield. Of course, I always got to save Lynn. Lynn's got the Lynn City of Sin. You never come out the way you went in. Everybody knows that little jingle. But this is reflective of a lot of cities like us, a lot of our communities. And as Kevin just said from the DEA, this isn't just a city problem. This is a problem throughout. New England in particular, with the heroin, the meth is out there, you know, other parts of the country. Hasn't come here. Hopefully it doesn't, but this heroin stuff is crazy. Last April, I had occasion to go down to Washington, D.C., meeting with the Police Executive Research Forum, some of the major city chiefs, bigger than Lynn, but they were focusing on heroin. And when you look at it, and we won't get too much into this, but you can buy a dosage unit of heroin in Lynn for $5. Think about that, $5. I was at a seminar several years ago, a Boston cop, an old-time detective, talked about it. At that time, I think heroin was like $4 for a dosage unit. And he said, look at the kids. You know, I'll admit, because the statute of limitations has passed, but when I was a kid, I had a few beers when I was underage. You know, we used to find the group of our friends who overlooked the oldest, have them go to a package store over on Market Street, go in and get a 6-pack of Schlitz, and we were good for the night. But think about it like our kids these days. What's a 6-pack of beer cost, depending on your flavor? You know, $10, $12, or up more. Get a hit of heroin, $5. That Boston cop told me a lot of the times the dealers, they're businessmen. They'll give a kid a free sample. Cost him $5. Probably cost the dealer less than that, obviously. And he's got a client for life. Those lives aren't long. So going back to the PERF seminar in Washington, D.C., I was talking about $5 for heroin in Lynn. Kevin talked about Vermont. Vermont has just as bad a problem. Some of those smaller towns in southern Vermont, you can buy a dosage unit of heroin for $24. Now, we're in a college. We're in an academic setting right now. Let's think about supply and demand. Let's talk about economics. Come in and Lynn, buy your heroin. Take the chance. Drive up to Vermont and sell it. You made a big profit. It's huge. But again, we're not here to talk about so much about law enforcement techniques, but I did want to throw that out. But again, this problem is everywhere. It's not just in the cities like Lynn. It's in the southern sections of Vermont. It's up in Burlington, Vermont. As Kevin showed you, it's all over the place. Anyway, you see our statistics. It's not good. You know, what do we do? How are we going to fix this thing? Now, again, that's what we're here for today. Summary of residency. I threw this on the slide because to me, this just raises questions and gives you a minute to think about something here. Look at the cities and towns on here. Again, this is just us here in Lynn. These are the folks that we investigated who've overdosed. I'm just going to jump around. Obviously, the majority of them are from Lynn. But you got them from, some of the North Shore towns. But let's jump out to East Boston, Manchester, New Hampshire, Worcester, Townsend, Vermont, North Reading, Nashua, Derry, New Hampshire, Taunton, Dorchester, Yorktown, Virginia, Fairhaven, Massachusetts. And it goes on and on. Wilbraham, Chelmsford, Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Why are they here in Lynn? Well, as I said a couple minutes ago, $5 a dosage unit. Lynn is a source city of heroin. We're not going to deny it. It's not worth denying it because all you're doing is hiding the problem. You need to face it head on. But why are they here? You know, the real cops, the ones that work the street here in Lynn, who most of them are sitting over here on my right, they'll tell me there's more addicts on the street. More addicts, more heroin, more overdoses. Okay. There are a lot of social service agencies in Lynn. And don't get me wrong, from the get-go, I'm going to say each and every one of those social service agencies provides a good purpose. They provide a function that is needed for the addicts. We've got to get these folks cured. But what we say, and I say this somewhat tongue-in-cheek, their failures become our clients. And we've seen through some of our research, a lot of folks will come to Lynn for these social service providers to get their treatment. You know, and we also have folks who are getting discharged from other parts of New England, other parts of the state, coming out of a prison, a halfway house. They may just be referred to places here locally, so that's why our population increases. More addicts, more heroin, more dealers, more overdoses. That's why I throw the residency up there. Just something to think about. Why are they all coming here? And I could be totally wrong. I'm just giving you a cop's perspective, 30 years on the job, but I think that's a big, big thing. So having everybody in this room, and as we saw the stat that Donnie Castle put up earlier about the treatment providers in this room, it's excellent that we're all here together. Because obviously we're going to encourage you folks, and I know you'll do this, keep the addicts in your programs. But for many of those who I've spoken to over the years that run these programs, your success rate, you'd like to see it better. I'm no expert, you are, but I understand it's one of the toughest things to successfully complete is a drug rehab program. A lot of recidivism. It's not helping the cause. Demographics, who are the people that are overdosing? Again, in Lynn. White males take the lead, 58%, followed by the females. Handful of folks from the black community, nothing from the Hispanic, and a couple of unknowns. I was talking to, I'll mention Tim Lawrence, a firefighter from the city of Lynn, this morning before this started. Tim's in the back right now. Tim said the Asians, 0. I don't have the answer, but think about why. Why don't the Asians dabble in drugs? Something we need to give some more thought to. Whites, yeah, white people, we buy, we use. You know, Spanish, not many. You know, blacks, a handful. Again, something to think about. I wish, and I made this request before, but we didn't get anybody. I wish I went to one of the colleges in Boston, one of the bigger universities. Love to get somebody to come in and take these statistics and somebody with a real academic mind and the time to do the analysis and go through it and see what we can find out to get some of those answers. Lynn overdose locations, we know where they are. This is a thermal map that we run through our crime analysis. Obviously, we're down here by the front with that little Nahat's coming in on that brown line at the bottom. We're right there by the college where it says Linway. A little bit closer up. That's the core of the city for those of you that aren't too familiar with Lynn. The red section is obviously the most activity. That's downtown. Kind of surrounded by Liberty Street, maybe going up around Liberty Street to Essex Street, over to Broad, and then through the general downtown area. That's where our overdoses are occurring. We know where they are, but you can't stop them. Couple of things, hopefully on a positive note, what we're doing, what we've seen some successes, and what we'd like to share with you, which is most important. Behavioral Health Unit. This is new for us. We received a grant from the Attorney General's office last year for $250,000 over 2 years. This is big, in my opinion, very big, and hopefully we're going to see some successes here. That grant brought us 2 individuals, Tito Rodriguez and Aaron Huckabee, 40-hour caseworker and 40-hour clinician. They're embedded right in our department. We gave them office space right by the back door. We also have Jen Wazakowski. We call her Jen W for short because we're not going to pronounce that every day of the week. Jen is here on another grant through DMH, Department of Mental Health, more for the jail diversion. That stuff, we're trying to keep folks out of jail. And I got at this point at least mention the mental health component here. Lynn has a lot of folks who are in the community who have serious mental health issues. The Section 12 pink papers are one of our biggest, most active calls that we respond to on a daily basis. And again, many of you have much more experience and knowledge in these fields than I, but I think the mental health and substance abuse often tie into each other. There is a correlation. We bring the behavioral health unit, we bring Jen and Tito, Aaron and Tito into this picture. They're here to follow up on our overdoses and our heroin problem in addition to some of the mental health issues. Every time we have an overdose, we share the info with them. They do follow-up calls. If they're available, they go to the scene. If the individual survived, they'll try to get them into programs. If they pass away, they're going to talk to family members, try to give them a hand. In fact, when our police officers go to overdoses, we will distribute literature to family members, trying to get them help, try to give them some guidance. And I got to give Tootie Bartlett from Lynn District Court, the court clinician over there. She's unbelievable. She's a tremendous asset to us. She works with our officers every day, doing a lot of the Section 35s, working with families, working with police officers, trying to get this problem addressed in the right channels. Now, don't get me wrong. People who deal drugs, people who use drugs, there is a law enforcement criminal justice purpose of this. And yeah, many of them should go away. And they do. But it's also the point, though, we've got to come up with some other strategies. Cops said long ago, we can't arrest ourselves out of situations like this. We need help from a variety of sources. So if we can get folks into the right hands of the mental health people, or the substance abuse treatment providers, get these folks cured somehow or other, it's a win-win for all. Individual's going to be back on the right track. We're not going to have that type of clientele in the city. And hopefully our crime rates will reflect it, because don't forget, you got to buy all these drugs, and most folks who are addicts cannot hold down a regular, decent paying job. They resort to crime. House breaks, robberies, you're just having more victims of crime, and that brings society down. So we need a team effort here. A little bit of LPD operations. Lynn Drug Task Force, Sergeant Richard Carroll is he's the officer in charge of that. Rick's over off to my right here. Law enforcement, and a lot of my law enforcement colleagues are in the room here. We do investigations. We work cooperatively with the DEA, state police, other local law enforcement agencies. We learned long ago, the drug problem doesn't stop at the border of the cities. We're all over the place, so that works very, very well. A patrol division, Captain Christopher Reddy is over here on the left. As I mentioned before, we do a lot of the outreach to the families, trying to get ahead of this. I think it was Kevin that said before, people will re-overdose and re-overdose and re-overdose. And when we put out a pamphlet in-house, and I know a lot of you get them here every month on the overdoses. There's no names in there, but it just talks about what goes on. But you see the same names, week or month after month. They're going to overdose again, and you feel frustrated because there's not a damn thing you can do about it. And I don't mean to sound crude or anything else. It's almost like a baby pool in an office setting. Young lady might be pregnant, and it's okay, she's going to get the baby's due January 30th, and everybody might throw $1 or $2 in a pool trying to pick the date and time. You can almost do that with some of these overdoses when you really look at the statistics. It's that blatant in front of you, not a damn thing you can do about it because of the addiction. NARCAN, I'm glad to say, after a long time coming, we will be we're starting our training with NARCAN next week. We got a grant from the Department of Public Health, Massachusetts Department of Public Health. We're going to train all patrol officers next week. So a week from the holiday, at the end of the month, all our uniformed officers in the cruisers will have NARCAN, and we're going to do the rest of us. Absolutely. And then we do our annual in-service training, which starts the end of January, runs into mid-May, and the rest of us that are detectives or administrative jobs, we're all going to be trained on it, so that's going to be out there. Kevin talked a lot about NARCAN. It is a wonder drug. It's amazing. I've seen it work myself, out in the street. I've stopped and see this stuff. But the only thing Kevin didn't say, and I'm sure he would agree with me, is you get somebody who's out and they're down, they're unconscious, unresponsive, you hit them with NARCAN, they get up. They are so upset and basically pissed off because you just ruined their high, and all they want to do is go get high again. So it is good, but it enables. It's enabling them, and Kevin pointed it out. They want to get that eternal high. So I share his concerns. The more NARCAN that's available, it's a great thing. It is a lifesaver, I will admit that, but it's enabling them to go that further step up that food chain to that eternal high which may take them, you know, to lead them to death. So, anyway, recommendations. Just my personal opinion here. Some of you may agree. Primary focus, prevention and education. Let me say this, there are not a lot of old addicts out there. It's an unfortunate statement to say, but there are not a lot of old addicts. They die from overdoses. If the overdoses don't kill them, just the wear and tear on the human body for using those type of drugs over their lifetime kills them early. Prevention and education, we got to start with the kids. It has to. It's got to start in the home. I'm sorry, moms and dads have got to step up. Watch where your kids are. A little story that I've always liked to tell in groups like this, but Lynn has a curfew. We can't arrest kids. If you're under 18, overnight, you have to be home or you have to be with your adult or legal guardian. But it's kind of unique, and I'm not going to pick on some of the more affluent towns around that surround Lynn, but I say this because I think it's a little bit funny, but it also sends a message. Remember one of the morning officers telling me one time about a group, they grabbed 2 or 3 girls in Lynn from another town, not too far away, and these girls came from an affluent family, but they're in Lynn at 3:30 in the morning. Are they here for something good? Are they here to attend a college orientation? No, they're here for drugs. So they brought the girls into the station under the curfew. Again, they're not under arrest. We bring them to the station. The ordinance lets us call moms and dads. The lieutenant calls the house. Dad picks up the phone, said, "Hi, this is Lieutenant so-and-so, Lynn Police. We have your daughter Mary right here. Could you come and get her?" "Oh, you can't have my daughter. You must have somebody else." "Well, she's saying she's Mary Jones or whatever her name was, and could you come?" "Nope, nope, nope. Can't be my daughter. She wouldn't do something." Lieutenant finally said, "Will you do me a favor? We just walk down the hall and see if little Mary's sleeping in her bed, tucked in with her teddy bear." Dad came back with a total different attitude, shocked that his daughter would do that. And he had to come down to the Lynn Police Station at 3:30 in the morning. Now, I like working there. It's a nice place. It's a new building, not like the old Sutton Street dump we had for many, many years. But I wouldn't want to come down there at 3:30 in the morning to pick up my kid. But it's got to start at home. Parents have got to step up, know where the kids are, what they're doing, who they're hanging around with. And we see a lot, and the officers in this room will tell you that. We see a lot of apathy there. They don't care. Now, not all, but enough. And the ones that don't, we can almost predict the kids are going to go down this path, whether it's to crime or drugs. In the school is huge. I'm a big proponent of school resource officers. We have 4 in the city. We also have Bob Ferrari, school safety and liaison, and school safety and security liaison. Schools are a prime area to get the kids. Focus in the middle school area before those kids got their attitudes already ingrained in their heads about what they want to do. We used to focus at the high school level, but kids have probably already got their opinions formatted. Get them when they're young. Get them with information. We teach the GREAT training program in there. Basically, that is teaching kids to make good decisions. They got to understand this stuff. They can't be naive about it. In the community, trying to work with sports coaches and soccer coaches, baseball coaches, whatever it may, football coaches. Work with the kids. Get them involved. When they stay home and they don't have structured activity, it's unfortunate to say, then they tend to stray. Treatment and rehab, as I said before, wonderful. It works to a point. We could use more of it, and I forget who the previous speaker was. When you need a bed, when you want a bed, you got to have a bed, and that is a problem. And I would encourage anything we can do to get more beds for those folks in there because it's great. But, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's not foolproof, and it's very, very tough for the success rate. And obviously, as I said before, the law enforcement, the judicial system, we lock up the bad guys. We bring them in the courts, make our cases, and hopefully they go away when it's deserved. But it's a problem that's not going away. You see these numbers. These statistics that we have here in Lynn, they're current, and they're staggering just in the last 3 years. And the numbers that I started this presentation with, 14 overdoses so far, do some quick math. We're going to surpass that 280 that we had in 2014 unless something drastically changes around. So thank you very much. I appreciate your help, and we'll be here for questions later.
Before I introduce the next speaker, during the course of planning this event, I spoke to the chiefs in all the towns that the Lynn District Court covers, which is Nahant, Marblehead, Saugus, Swampscott, and the State Police Barracks in Revere and Danvers. And I want to recognize Chief Griffin here. Do they still call you the new chief? I'm not sure. The Chief of Police in Peabody, Mass., formerly from the Salem Police Department. is here today, and he's been very helpful in planning this event. And I wanted to put these numbers up. I know Chief Coppinger went through Lynn numbers in detail, the high numbers we're dealing with, and this is what's going on in the towns. And Marblehead had 6, Nahant had 6, and the chief in Nahant is here as well, and he indicated that if people are familiar with the area, at the halfway house on the beach, Long Beach in Nahant, the state police also covers that, as well as the Nahant police. 5 of them were at the beach. Probably someone at the beach decided to get high before they went to the beach, got high too much, and overdosed at the beach. The PB numbers in Salem, in Saugus and Salem, very, very high numbers. The Swampscott as well. And the state police, I think the major mentioned 145 incidents of heroin calls. So just to curtail or to expand a little bit from what the chief and Lynn just said, these are the numbers from the towns that we service. And I thank you for that information. Next up is Faye Healy and Anne-Marie D'Angelo Florent, hopefully I said that right, from MassHealth. I asked them to come in here today, and I think it's good information when someone walks into your office as a probation officer or someone's trying to get into treatment. They're here to explain to us about the basic of how MassHealth works, the laws updated. I know by talking to them and other people that a lot of the changes are coming in the fall, more for the private insurance carriers next September, when people are trying to get into a program. And when we deal with the sheriff's department and someone's detained on a violation, they shut your MassHealth off. And then those people are usually coming back to us, whether they go into the OCC or other programs. We need to get the MassHealth back on so they can get covered, they can get in the treatment and get their programs funded. So she's going to talk about that, and hopefully we can have a process in place and some numbers and information on how they can help all of us, as well as police officers and troopers and other treatment providers, and who they can call to get information from MassHealth. With that, I know you have a PowerPoint as well, so thank you.
Good morning, everybody. So I am Anne-Marie D'Angelo Florent, and I am a MassHealth member education representative. And I also have with me today Faye Healy, who also works at MassHealth. And she's an outreach support coordinator, so she does a lot of work with application processing. So I get to be the lucky presenter that's on before break. And I do have a PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to be going through. Hopefully it won't take too long, but I'm going to switch gears a little bit. And basically what we're here to talk about today is, the health insurance eligibility application system in Massachusetts. So, that is going to include the MassHealth programs and some programs at the Health Connector. And this really applies to anybody that needs health insurance. So what I'll be talking about is some of the new health insurance coverages that exist in Massachusetts, along with some that really haven't changed too much. I know we've heard a lot about healthcare reform, both on the federal level and the state level. There's open enrollment. I'm going to give you some information on that, and also some information on members that really need to take an action during this open enrollment in order to keep their coverage. And then a big part of this is going to be how you can assist people with the application, what the process is, and agency contact information. So this is just really, you've heard about the Affordable Care Act. It's a huge law. It's like 1,000 pages long. This is just some key points on some of the major components when we think about who would be eligible for health insurance. Some of the coverages we have expansions on. So what that means is people that have applied for insurances in the past have new options, new coverages that are available due to the Affordable Care Act. So one of the big eligibility features of the Affordable Care Act is really upping the income guideline up to 133% of the federal poverty level. This actually allowed many, many individuals that live in Massachusetts to be able to go ahead and get a basic MassHealth insurance coverage. In the past, they were not eligible. They had to be eligible in other ways. Now it's just, are you an adult and is your income underneath this percentage of income level? If that's the case, then they can go ahead and apply for coverage and get a coverage. We also expanded coverage in the Health Connector area. So the Health Connector has been around since 2006 in Massachusetts, and the Affordable Care Act allowed us to expand coverage up to 400% of the federal poverty level. So for those individuals that may not be eligible for a MassHealth coverage, they can actually go to the Health Connector and shop for a plan. So depending on where their income level is will depend on what type of plan they may be eligible to shop for. A health insurance marketplace, that was part of the Affordable Care Act. Basically, all that means is it's a place where people can go and shop for health insurance. This has been in place in Massachusetts, and it continues to be in place. And that is actually at the MassHealth Insurance Health Connector. And that's how individuals right now are applying for health insurance. The law requires not only adults to have coverage, but also children. So this affects, you know, everybody that's living in Massachusetts and the United States. So those are just some of the key features that we think about when we think about the Affordable Care Act and who may be eligible, some of the new coverage types that people can apply and shop for. This is just sort of a visual on who would, how the breakdown would be as far as who would be eligible for what coverage along with the federal poverty level that goes with that. So we did have some expansion into our MassHealth coverage types, and that's shown in the blue area. The MassHealth Care Plus is a new MassHealth coverage, and many individuals were eligible for that due to the Medicare expansion up to 133% of the federal poverty level. When you look at the yellow shaded areas, this is for individuals that may not be eligible for MassHealth, but they'd be eligible to shop at the Health Connector. So you have your Connector Care programs for individuals up to 300% of the federal poverty level, and then you have qualified health plans, and that's really where the expansion due to the Affordable Care Act came in. So it's sort of like one-stop shopping. It's one place where you can apply for the health insurance subsidized coverages, and it's like a decision tree. We start out with, are you eligible for MassHealth? If not, can you be eligible for the Health Connector? And even above and beyond 400% of the federal poverty level, individuals, if they don't have access to any health insurance, they can go to the Health Connector and shop for a plan. They wouldn't get subsidies, but they would be able to purchase a health insurance plan. This is a little bit more of a breakdown of what the Health Connector offers. So individuals in the lower income brackets are eligible for certain Connector Care plans. These are your lower cost plans with lower premiums. And individuals between 300 and 400% are shopping for a qualified health plan, and they get tax credits. So when they go to file their taxes, they're going to get a tax credit if they're eligible for what we call a QHP. This is, you know, very quickly the structure of the subsidized plans that we have in Massachusetts. So when you look at MassHealth, you see the standard Common Health Care Plus, Family Assistance Limited, and CMSP, which is the Children's Medical Security Plan. Those are the different coverages that we offer through the MassHealth program. It's a little bit complicated, but when we do an eligibility determination, we're looking at many, many different factors. We're looking at income, we're looking at family size, do you have health insurance, do you have access to health insurance? We take all of this information into consideration and we do an eligibility evaluation. If a person comes in and they're not eligible for MassHealth, then they shoot right over to the Connector. So the MassHealth Connector, as I just mentioned, you have Connector Care plans available and you have qualified health plans. And then finally, we have the Health Safety Net, which has been around for a while. It was formerly known as the Uncompensated Care Pool or Free Care. It's for individuals that don't have access to any other health insurance, or maybe they're waiting to enroll in a plan. And as I said, these are the three sort of major players when you think about health insurance in Massachusetts and subsidized health insurance. Just a quick mention that we still do offer plans for individuals over the age of 65. I'm not sure, you know, if you're dealing with that population at all. Many of our seniors, you know, really didn't have a lot of changes due to healthcare reform, either Massachusetts healthcare reform or the Affordable Care Act, but we do most definitely offer plans for seniors over the age of 65 that live in the community. So I just wanted to mention that that still is in place for our over 65 seniors, and they also may be eligible for the health safety net. Another thing we do at MassHealth is we help individuals pay their Medicare premium. There's a monthly premium involved in your Medicare. I know that says 2014 up there. It has not changed for 2015. It's still going to be the $104.90. So just to mention that we do have the over 65 plans eligible for our seniors. So, you know, there's really a lot. I have 15 minutes. There's a lot that goes into the different coverage types and who would be eligible for what. So I just wanted to give you a quick overview. And now I'm going to go into open enrollment, which I'm sure you've all heard about. We do have open enrollment. The current enrollment for this year started actually back in November of 2014, and we're still in open enrollment. So we're going through February 15th of 2015. So the way this really works is for MassHealth members, really for open enrollment, they can apply and reapply for MassHealth at any time. However, in this particular year, for this particular open enrollment, we have many members that are on a temporary MassHealth benefit. Due to the fact that we didn't really have an online application system functioning the way that we wanted to. So we were able to put people in this temporary benefit. It's about 400,000 members that have to take an action and do have to enroll in a plan by the middle of February, actually. By this point, all of these individuals have been notified. They've received information in the mail that this is an action that they need to take for this particular year. Others that would take advantage of open enrollment are people that had shopped at the Health Connector. They selected a plan. You know, they get to re-up their plan or change their plan once a year if they choose to. As far as the rest of our members, so I don't know if you know this statistic, but we have about 1.3 million members on MassHealth in Massachusetts. The majority of those members really do not really have to do anything during this open enrollment. I'm sure that some of them have heard a lot about open enrollment. They may or may not know whether they need to take an action or not. But rest assured, anybody that would have to re-enroll should have received a packet. And I'm going to give you some resources how our members can kind of touch base and find out, you know, what they need to do, if anything. So that just gives you a little bit of perspective on what's happening with open enrollment. And again, we're still in it until February 15th of next month. So how do we assist these individuals? You just heard how huge the caseload is, how many people are on health insurance. Massachusetts and the Health Connector and MassHealth have received funding, and there's a lot of different resources that are available out in the community. You yourself as an agency can make the choice. You can help somebody apply or reapply for benefits, or you can utilize what we're calling certified application counselors. So we probably even have some certified application counselors in the audience. So these are individuals that have been trained to help people apply or reapply, you know, navigate the system, understand what's happening with health insurance. There's 170 certified application counselor organizations, and there's over 1,200 certified application counselors that are trained and ready to help people. Not only that, there's additional counselors that have been trained specifically for this open enrollment period. If you are interested in joining or want to become a certified application counselor, you can contact the email that's listed here on the PowerPoint. We also have a navigator program, so there are 15 additional organizations that have been selected to help people, you know, understand what's happening with health insurance. Do they need to apply? Do they need help? You know, understanding what the process is. The Health Connector during this particular time has also extended their hours. They have done enrollment fairs, And this particular week, they're making an extra effort, so anybody that wants to go into the Health Connector, if they have any questions or they have to take an action, all of those resources are available to individuals. So how does somebody apply? There are a couple of different options. We're really happy to say that we do have a functioning online application system for this year. It went into effect back in the fall. And really, this is the most recommended way that we want individuals to do an application, which is to file online. That's done at the MA Health Connector. It's the first bullet on the slide. You can log into that, and you can do an online application. Again, don't forget about the certified application counselors and the navigators. Some people are not comfortable sitting down doing their own application, so there is assistance out there. If you need to find a certified application counselor, you can go to the Connector website. You can look up by zip code where they are available in your area, or you can get that information on the phone. There are two options, both at MassHealth and the Health Connector, where individuals can apply over the phone. Again, we are recommending online. It's the fastest, most effective, and easiest way to apply, but we do have over the phone options. And then, of course, we have our paper applications, and really that is when other methods are unsuccessful. We recognize that, you know, not everybody obviously can go and apply online for application assistance. I just want to point out now that we did bring a supply of applications, so everybody in this room should be able to take an application home with you. Some of them went out in the registration packets, and some of them did not, but over at the registration table, there's a couple of boxes of applications. You know, not only is this an application, but with it comes a member booklet. So everything that I'm talking to you in this PowerPoint presentation, everything I'm talking to you about will be available, inside the member booklet. So it's an application and it's information that you can take with you or you can hand out. And if you feel that this is something that you're going to be doing you know, a lot, take them all. Take more than one if you need to. The last bullet on the slide is, you know, just where you would send, so you can mail or fax in. If you do choose to do a paper application and not apply online, that's where you would send it. And again, this information is all in the member booklet. 2 paper applications. Remember, I talked about our seniors, so sometimes, you know, people do the wrong application. I do not have a huge supply of senior applications, but if you do need some, just come see me or Faye. We did bring some of those with us, so there's two separate applications. This is the one for under 65. I'm assuming this probably the majority of the ones that you would be using would be this one. And then, you know, if you do find that you are doing a lot of applications, you can order supplies of them, and that is how listed on the slide. This is just contact information, so this is the website for the MassHealth office and the Connector office. You'll get a lot of information there. You have the MassHealth enrollment centers that are listed here. Our central processing unit and our health insurance processing center, and then down at the bottom just some customer service numbers. So the customer service numbers are for anybody. So if you have a question, you can call. If you're dealing with a member or they have a question, they can call in. So that really is my PowerPoint. So just to recap, just kind of a brief overview of some of the new eligibility programs, you know, dealing with the Affordable Care Act and the subsidized health insurance, and also to what the application process is. So, you know, basically it's online, over the phone, or doing a paper application. And please take the applications if you didn't get one on the end, because as I said, there's a bunch of information, basically what I talked about inside those packets. And we'll be here if you have any questions. We have a table at the back. So the request is from the Lynn Community Health Center, which is certified application counselors are there, as I mentioned, and they are You know, for those of you that work in the Lynn area, they do, you know, tons of applications and ongoing work for the health insurance. Thank you.
Just before the break, we're about 10 minutes ahead of time. I just wanted to have them explain to us, if someone goes to Middleton or a House of Correction on detention mitt or sentence on a split sentence out of any court, and MassHealth showed up, how do we get their health insurance back on?
Okay. Right now, we're working with several House of Corrections, but the process is if a person is incarcerated and they're within the 30-day, they're pre-release within 30 days, that you're able to do the paper application, and you do list as to when they're going to be released. And what we will do is go ahead and process that application so that they can get scheduled for appointments once they get discharged, so they can get the medications that they need and get the services they need. But anyone that has a question about that, I mean, we use a special cover sheet to indicate that this is a pre-release. And we have this new, the new computer system, which is cross-matching with incarceration. So we do have to have some workarounds. So if you were just to go online to do an application for this person, they may get a denial letter saying they're not eligible because it's cross-matching. So we have to do a workaround with it, which is why, we tell you to do the paper application using the cover sheet, a specific cover sheet. And anyone who has questions about it certainly can contact me. And also, if your agency does want to have staff become certified application counselors so they can do the application process, then absolutely, we would love to have that happen. We do not, years ago we had the virtual gateway where a lot of places were able to do the application online. And right now we do not have a specific portal to allow you to do the application online. So, but it's in the works because we have this new system, and the H-Centif system was not really prepared. It was an off-the-shelf product that we purchased in Massachusetts. So we have a lot more programs available than most states. So we have to do workarounds. But please make sure, if you have a person leaving and in their pre-release, we want to make sure that they get the services they need. If a person is now, I know if you have someone that's going in and out, maybe got picked up on a violation, is going to spend a month or so in, then we don't want to really close that case because he's going back, we'll be going out. But if a person is going to be in, I don't know, what is it, up to 2.5, 3 years, you can keep them in the, okay. So we would close it out and then within that 30-day process, get them reopened. Another issue is you have a lot of homeless people that you're dealing with. We do not close them because the mail isn't getting to them, but they still need to know and be aware if we're requesting information. I know Lynn Community Health Center, I've worked with them a lot. They're a great group of people there and a great resource in this area to get the applications done and also to keep them maintained on MassHealth coverage. It's a 10-day, things have been a bit different because we weren't able to do a complete determination in 2014. A lot of people were not closed out at all. It used to be if you had mail returned, we would close them out, they'd have a 10-day notice. However, now that we have a new, a system that is working, we need to know, if they're going, if they're going to be in for a long time, we want to make sure it gets closed out. If they're awaiting trial, they should not get closed out. They need to be kept open because, until they leave or they're just,
I think the answer is to call Faye. I do have her number if you need it. It's just a big problem we go through with. But thank you very much. I appreciate it. It is. All right, we're going to take a break. Thank you, everyone.